This is Dr. Christina Rahm, and we're talking about the Rahm Mentorship Program, as well as Root and DRC Ventures, and how they're sponsoring this program. And I know you want to sponsor it too with different things you're doing, and you've already done a tremendous amount of work for people. We're going to talk about failure, being mentors today a little bit too. I just did this with Yulia because there's no guarantee, and I want to get your feedback on this because you've been through this recently, that when you give money or you mentor people, that they'll respond. And Yulia just made this great comment. She said, you know, one of my supervisors said that when you are a mentor, you want to choose not a donkey, but a racehorse, right? Because you can't make a donkey into a racehorse that wins a race. And you know this because you shared with us last night that you've given some stuff to some people to help them in certain communities. And some of those people didn't respond well. They just wanted more from you, and they didn't want to contribute. So one of the things, which is a little different than yesterday, that I wanted to talk about today is we don't have any guarantee that who we're having as an intern or who we're giving money to or who we're mentoring is going to succeed. And I want you to share a little bit about that with the audience, because I think people look at like a internship program and think, oh, that's so great. Everything's so easy. And the truth is, like Yulia said, 9 out of 10 people won't be what we want them to be. I will tell you in our experience, because we're able to bring them into this corporation and we hold them so accountable, and they have all these people around them, right, that if they don't succeed right away, they're gone pretty quick. Do you know what I mean? I think the worst experiences I've had is when they're off-site and I don't know exactly what's going on. So Duquesne gave me some insight today, and so did Yulia. Duquesne said, I think we should start with 10 hours a week so we see how they're doing, because the time you spend checking on what they're doing is time away from your family and your job. And you are one of the top ambassadors at the Root brands. You are. I mean, you have a responsibility to your organization. And regardless of what you and I think, I know that we know deep down that when you take time away from this to do this, as important as it is to get back, right? You have to weigh all of that, because this is your life too, and you're making an impact. So share with the audience your expectations of this program, and then I'd like you to share how you know you're going to see success, but you're going to see some failure.
It's always a perspective where you look at it.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. When there's success, there's failure. When there are expectations, there's also a lot of growth, even when expectations are not met.
Yes.
So
that's a good point.
Because what I also see, even a mentor is learning oftentimes even more than a mentee.
I agree. It's like a parent and a child.
Yes.
Like I've learned from my kids more than I've probably taught my kids, yeah.
So even when a mentee, that's how I see it. Of course, we have expectations, we have our plans, we have our values, we would love to share, we would love to give and to forward. Maybe it's not met, but a plant is seeded. No, a seed is planted.
Yeah.
This way around. So
Stephanie is not from the United States. Well, you're not, but I'm joking with you. No, but you're right. When a seed is planted.
The seed is planted, and maybe that was just not the right time at the right moment.
Right.
But a seed is planted.
Yeah.
And on the other side, it gives the mentor already so many insights, or just what you have shared. Yes, we've given products away in order to support people. Of course, we have this high expectation oftentimes, but yeah, the response is different because life is just happening and everyone is on their path in life. But on the other side, it gave us, and when I'm saying us, I'm talking about myself and I'm talking about Henrik and the people that are involved. We learned so much from it. So we can adapt and move forward and maybe attract a different type of audience, making new decisions, different decisions. So this is like everything in life. It is giving and taking, and also being grateful for the insights that this meant in terms of a mentee right now, the insights we are getting from that experience being in this relationship. So That's how I see it.
I think that's such a positive way to look at it. We just had, I don't know if you heard our meeting that we just had. Did you get to hear much of that?
Only briefly.
Yeah. We set expectations because for us to be successful in the company, right, there's a difference in being a mentor and then letting people take advantage of you, or just writing a check to someone and they're never going to appreciate it or give back or help others. And we're trying to find that balance, right? Because we couldn't have grown a company to where it is if we just didn't expect things from people. Clayton gave a great speech and said, you guys need to sit down with all those women in that room because they're responsible for the revenue in this company. And you should give them huge thanks for being able to write paychecks, to people throughout the world, including their jobs, because of what you do. And I mean this, you're one of the top leaders. You're one of the first people here. But one of the things I love about you is you give with your heart and you don't expect anything. But I'm going to ask you, what happens when you are giving and mentoring or donating samples? Because there's so many different ways to mentor. Like part of mentoring, both of us have done so many different things. Not to pat ourselves on the back because I feel like we should, right? I think that's part of being alive. But what happens when you finally realize, okay, I can't keep mentoring this specific person? Because I do believe, I'm like you, I think that even in failure, or even in something that seems like failure, right? Because we don't really know what failure is really. I mean, we're evolving, right? You learn lessons. And I even think that when people, maybe they wouldn't be successful on this first pass of the internship mentorship program, they may later look back in life and remember how you gave and learned a lesson. They learned a lesson and they're a better person because of it. And you might look at it like I have many times when I have given and not received, as you learned a lesson from that too, and it helped you be a stronger person. But I want to ask you, how would you draw a line with an intern or a mentor so you could train or help someone else be a better person because you're spending so much time with one person and maybe they're not responding? How do you decide when the time is for you to go into another direction? Because you have the opportunity now to do something. Our plans are to fly them into the United States, the mentees, and have them spend time here from Europe and different countries. But I want to know how you're going to make that decision of who you spend your time with and when you decide, okay, I've done my job here, but I need to move my job to this other one. Because I don't want you ever to quit. I hope you're part of this program forever, but it's not going to all be perfect. You know what I mean?
This is the very hard part for me.
Me too.
Because saying no,
yeah, it's hard.
That's hard because I always try to believe in the good.
Yeah.
But as I proceeded until here, I figured out it is good to set a time limit at the beginning.
Yeah.
So that's what we also with a giveaway or supporting of products, we set a time limit. So it gives you and the receiver a time. And then you can, okay, we have met this, our agreement. I'll provide it for 6 months, for example, or 3 months, and then we will reevaluate. And the same with a mentee or with an assistant that you have. Let's get on a time frame, 2-3 months, see how everything works, because then it's not a absolute yes or no, but you have a time frame where you can reflect. But it's not just that I need to reflect or someone, but also you give the other person an opportunity to reflect.
Yeah.
To see, well, we've come that far. How do you see your situation?
Yeah.
What could be your next step?
Yeah.
So,
because sometimes people fail and then they're like, I did that wrong and I'm going to do this better. So I'm like you, it's really hard for me to give up on people. And I don't know if I ever give up on anyone, but sometimes I know it's healthier for both of us to choose a different direction. That's painful for me, just so you know. That's always been, if I leave a company, anything I do, it's painful, for like an end to something. And I honestly believe I don't need to say goodbye to people. It's not a final ending, right?
No, not at all. Because you also give that's what I'm always, it is part of self-responsibility. So we are all on our path through life. And oftentimes we have to grow into the self-responsibility. I went through that path as well.
You just got back from how many mile walk? I want to talk about you walked for like a self-reflection, right?
Yes.
And for how many miles?
It was 800 kilometers, like 500 miles.
Yeah, and you spent that time basically on self-improvement because it's such a vital part. I would assume it's such a vital part of life. And so you took that time, which I know is hard because when you give that time to yourself, you're weighing
missing somewhere else. But at the end, everyone will improve.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
I was just so you know, I was proud of you. And I was like, gosh, I've got to do that because it's so important. I remember when I went through a divorce, for example, and I went through a lot of stuff and they wanted me to go to a 6-week kind of inpatient because of the stuff I'd gone through. And I was like, I just don't have time for it. But what I did, I couldn't leave my kids at the time because no one could watch them. I didn't have anyone else to take care of them. So I just went like 3 to 5 times a week, to counseling to try to really get a grip on how I could come out of it a better person. But that was tough. It was a lot of time, but it was needed.
I was grateful that I have the time, or that I had the time to do this. Also that my kids gave me the time to do it. And on that path, I met so many people that just quit their job and were looking for, well, I don't know what's my next step in life. Or what you just said, that went through a divorce, like, I don't know. So it is a physical process, but it's when you come through that physical,
it's spiritual.
Then you go through the mental, the emotional, the spiritual.
Yeah. And I think that you have such a great perspective because of even doing that. But I've always noticed that about you. Like you don't know what people have gone through because you've never sat in their shoes. But one thing I've learned, it took me a long time to learn, I can't be drug into the victim mentality of others. It's easy for all of us to feel sorry for ourselves. And I mean, there's days I do, we all do. But we brought this up, we can't develop this program for people. Like I would tell you, definitely not people in the root community, for example, because they do their own business. You want to bring in people that can help you with your social media. It can help you with responding. And while they're doing that, you're teaching them to be even better because you've been so great at marketing. You've been so great at networking. You stepped out of your comfort zone. You've done speaking. You've done things you probably never thought. I know I have because of this job and other jobs that I've had. So it's a give and take, in that process. But part of this, and they've got to learn something that's helping someone else, and not just talk about what they don't have or how they've been hurt, right? Mm-hmm. Because we've all been hurt. But in order to come out a better person, you've got to find strength and develop different skill sets to be able to contribute to this world. Because you didn't hear me speaking earlier, but I said, you're not just here for self-gratification in life. None of us are. We're here to contribute and to do things. And as a mother, you and I are both mothers, this, there's times with your kids, you're not getting something out of that. Do you know what I mean? Like there's moments with children when it's tough, right? I don't know I don't know what you've gone through with yours, but there's been good and bad moments. I love them even more because of the bad moments. I have failed them, for example, as a mother.
I just had this conversation this morning as well with a good friend. There's a good and a bad.
Yeah.
And there is a good in the bad, and there's so you can learn.
Yeah.
I need those moments. And for me, it was also a path to realize that.
Yeah. I hope that we're able to bring people to self-realization because that's really important in life. If you don't spend time, honestly, mentoring others or being a mentee, and I'm like you, I think it's both. You learn in both situations. I love learning, for example, from the younger generation because they think differently than I think, and they bring up things I never thought of. My children bring up things. Kreider put together a template that everyone in the office was like, why didn't we think about that? And, he just graduated high school, and to him it was nothing. But to us, we're so caught up in the day-to-day grind that we didn't step out and do it. And he's an intern, right? He doesn't work for me because he's my son. It was too hard for me.
And the younger generation, especially when it comes to social media, they're so they
good.
grew into it.
They are.
It's so much easier. Social media for me is like,
me too. It's so hard for me. It's so hard for me to, I got to tell you, the IT stuff and the social media stuff, I'm like, wait a minute. And it's growing, it changes so quickly.
But if you have someone who would love to expand actually and evolve in that field because it feels just natural, then it contributes also to show someone and a person, well, I have that strength, because so many people, we're not taught our values, that we are a greatness.
Yeah, we are. And each are in our different ways.
So it's also just to show where is your potential and just grow in that field.
Yeah. So what will you do if someone comes and they quit or they don't show up for your session? How are you going to handle that?
That's definitely a part I'm growing in then right now.
They're watching this. Your mentee is going to be watching.
You've been in that part, a huge mentor just in the last couple of days, because I feel like you're a mentor from me as well. Being a businesswoman, you have achieved and grown and led so many companies. And the way you handle this, I'm definitely taking my nuggets out of it, especially being very clear at the beginning, because then the expectation is set.
That's hard for me too, though, Stephanie. You and I have a lot.
Still, and you try to give a second and a third chance, but it is okay giving a first chance, a second chance, and then it's like, hey, maybe it's just not the right timing, but we just need to. We have expectations for even more, because if you let go of someone, that person has the opportunity to grow.
Absolutely.
And then you yourself can grow, because you will lead other people, or you will attract other people that might be in that situation a better fit. And as we said earlier, it is not a no forever.
No. It's not. I've had so many people work with me and then come back later, even Duquesne. Do you know what I mean? It's always an evolving process, and they're trying to wrap us up, and I have more to say. It's always an evolving process, and like I've learned from you many, many times with your kind heart and the way you see things. That you have a gentle spirit and soul, and it's very obvious to see. And I know some people would be critical of that because they're not as kind and good as you are. I shouldn't say good, because we're all good in our own way. But that gentleness, I hope that whoever you're mentoring, and I think you'll have a lot of different people in the process. I know, you and Henry do it every day. You know that. I mean, when you talk about mentoring, you guys have mentored mass people. And one of the things I have to say, someone said something to me the other day about both of you guys and the loyalty to the company. And here's what I said. I worked at companies for years that tried to control and own me. No one owns any of us, right? We're each our own person. We have different paths. We come and go out of each other's lives. And again, my father used to always say, you don't say bye to people. You just say, see you later. Do you know what I mean? And that's true friendship, and I think that's true self-realization. You can't control and own people, but what you can do is impart, while you're working with them or while you know them, a great just love. Like I have to tell you, like I worked with Wendy and Randy Lewis, Wendy Lewis and Randy Ray, and loved them. And I didn't take a job with them, and they offered numerous times, but they were such good friends. I was a little bit concerned about us working together. I'm still friends with them, and they've transitioned to another area of their life. But we were competitors in a way, right? I never saw it that way, and she never saw it that way. We just loved each other. People don't know this, but we spent many weekends together. We traveled, we did different things, and they were one of the top companies in this space, in the world. And to this day, I hear sometimes good and bad about them, this industry. And I just inside am so protective because I love them. So the gossip and all the other stuff, as it pertains to you or Henrik or me and Clayton or Wendy and Randy, I don't listen to any of it. Because for me, I always know. I know your heart. I know who you are. And there are people that will always want to change the way we are and how we feel. But I think you're sending a great message to the audience that this self-realization, this sincerity of just being on the path to try to grow and be better is amazing. And if it weren't for you and Henrik, Root wouldn't be where it is. And you led that. I'll start crying. You led that. I mean, I was shocked, I have to tell you this, that when you stepped up and led that, I was still in another company. And so was Henrik, and I'm like, I can't believe, but you did, and you're just such an amazing leader.
Thank you. I would just love maybe just as a final, because we were talking, if you let go and if you're meant to, if that person, for example, is meant to be on your path, it will come back. I had this amazing situation on my pilgrimage just a few weeks ago. And it was on a walk. I met another pilgrim, and we had an amazing conversation, and I felt like, well, that's a nice conversation because he has to talk the things that he's doing. It was really, really good. But I noticed in that moment, I would just love to spend time on my own, experience the scenery, which was so beautiful. And for me, saying no is really, really hard. But I sat in this moment, hey, I would just love to have a look at the roses and I'll see you.
Yeah.
And because I was thinking, if we're meant to talk more and in more depth, we'll meet again.
Absolutely.
Because the universe will bring us back together. It took 2 weeks, or a week and a half. And it was just this, the situation, sitting just taking a snack on our walk about 2 weeks later. And we went, hey, it's you again. And for the next 2 hours, we were walking together as well, also the next day. And we had such an in-depth conversation. And we would probably not have had the first meeting. So yes, we were meant to have this exchange and to talk and to, so if you're really meant to be on that path, sometimes it takes a detour.
Absolutely.
But it will happen.
Yeah. I love you saying that because I believe that, by the way. I believe you're meant to be around people that you will. I believe if you're meant to share this journey, you are. And I think you go in and out of people's lives. I'm very fortunate that I get to be around you and Henrik, and I don't share this with you all, but the loyalty I have because of that transcends really a lot of things in my life because I've known, none of us are perfect. You and I are not perfect. Henrik's like Clayton. Which makes me love him even more because I love Clay. They both have...
But in a different way.
They're different, but they are opinionated, right? And you and I are more of the peacemakers, but they're amazing. Like, I love the fact that...
It takes both.
We
add so well, just as you and Clayton, we bring value, giving and taking.
Well, I've read different texts you've written me, but I already know that about Henrik. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't doubt Henrik. I'm very honest with him. If someone tells me he has a bad intention, I know he doesn't. I know he never hurts women. I know that he never wants to hurt people. Now, has he ever hurt anyone just because he tells the truth of what he thinks? Probably, because Clay does too. Probably I have as well.
But why did he hurt? Because that person.
Right.
It is not because of him. It is because the person felt triggered. Maybe.
Yeah.
And
I want to say that publicly because we get pulled in a lot of directions just like you guys do. But when you know people, again, this kind of goes back to Wendy and Randy. It doesn't matter what everyone else says. You just know them, and it doesn't matter what the gossip. I hate gossip, but unfortunately in our roles we have to deal with it. And I think it's amazing what you two have done together. And I think it's amazing what you're doing for others. So I wish you the best. And I hope that he also participates, because we're going to roll out, the Rahm Foundation program, or that you guys do your own thing, because again, we take different paths. But the collaboration between Europe and the United States and the different things we're doing, I think is essential for the future. And I'm just excited about all the things we're going to do, around each other, and hopefully what we do for the world as we try to work with the younger generation as well as the older generation. Someone said to me earlier, so you're kicking out anyone that's older in this program. And I said, that's impossible to say to someone like me, because there's never an absolute with me. Like, you set a standard of what you want that you think would be a good guideline, but there's always outliers. And I think we're going to see a lot of that in what we're doing at Root, as well as the Rahm Foundation, as we try to help people.
There's a lot to do.
There's a lot to do. We just started. Like, I don't know if people realize 3 years is not a long time.
No, and
Henry's sure I haven't been here 3 years.
No, and especially the last 3 years, they've been so... Now I'm missing the English word.
It's been a hard 3 years. I mean, there's so many changes. Yeah.
But these were important.
They were.
They were important to
evolve.
To evolve. And to unfold.
And to unfold. We're going to put your link and information about you, whatever you want, because I want people to be able to find you. And then some people will contact you where it has nothing to do with Root, but just about...
pleasure.
Yeah, me too. So it's great for people to just reach out to us so that we can help. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you more and more. I'm thinking you're going to be in the United States more, right? That's what Henry says.
Yes.
So I'm hoping so. So thank you, Stephanie.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.